Hi everyone, this is Seb from the King of Knights TCG, and today I'm going over one of the decks I think that people need to pay attention to in the Dzbt09 and going into the Dzbt10 format, which is the GOAT himself, Estacion. This is one of the two new starter decks. I'm going to be going over my list that is fully built with all the upgrades that I think the deck needs. So people are looking at how to fit this deck to look like fully built. This is one of the lists that I've seen getting played. This is my variant of it after a lot of testing and finding out what I like, what I don't like, what I think is needed and what I think isn't needed. So we'll get straight into it. This deck is very strong, it's also very consistent. Its ability to compress is like one of the best in the game, I think. So the ride deck, we play the grade 0 Estacion. You have to play this starter, so don't play any other starter. The grade 1 is the grade 1 Estacion. Says when it's placed, when you ride the grade 2 Estacion over it, you soul blast the grade 0 and reveal the grade 3 from your ride deck and create a blast token. So the blast token is what your deck focuses around and getting as many gauges underneath it as possible. So the blast token is this. I've got one of the foil ones because I have money. It says continuous rearguard. This unit cannot be moved to other circles, and if you have a Vanguard Estacion, its name gets all the following effects. So it cannot be affected by any of your opponent's card effects, but it can be attacked still. So if any effects allow it to attack, like rearguards in the back row, it can still be attacked by that. So keep that in mind. Axe rearguard. Once per turn, you can put 2 or more up to 3 other rearguards face up as this card's plant gauges and draw a card. So between 2 and 3 rearguards is the way of saying that. And then during your turn, if you have a grade 3 Greater Vanguard, your front row gains 5,000 power for every 3 gauges this card has. So your front row will very quickly spike up in power. You'll see that like very easily you can get to like 40, 50k like very quickly. And then the grade 2 for the ride deck is the Legend of the Raging Skies Estacion. The grade 2, he says when he is placed by riding from the grade 1, you can search your deck for a copy of Vital Blaze Blast, which is this deck's like order card. It helps you build a board and add more gauges underneath your blast token. And the grade 3 is Legend of the Celestial Fury Estacion. This card has 2 effects. The first one is you can act once per turn, cat blast 1, and call a plant token to rearguard, and then look at the top 3 cards of your deck and choose a card from among them, put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. But if you have 6 or more plant gauges, you get to check top 5 instead of top 3. And importantly, the card you add from this doesn't have to be revealed to your opponent. It's like Eva's skill. It doesn't specify you reveal the card you add, so you don't have to. And the first part of it says if you have a blast token, when you play the plant token from its effect by calling it to rearguard, you can put it underneath as a gauge instead. So helps you ramp up more gauges, helps you compress your deck and find cards that you need. And then its second effect is when it attacks, you can discard 2 plant gauges to search your deck or drop for a blast unit and call it to rearguard. And if you search your deck, you shuffle it. So the blast units are like the 4 seasoned dragons this deck has, and he himself is also a blast. So like if you run out of the blast units because they're like bound or something, you can just call a copy of him that you've like soul blasted or something. That's it for the ride deck. It certainly shows the strengths this deck has, having great compression and the ability to easily multi-attack and add cards from your deck to your hand. Then on the main deck, we of course play 3 more copies of the grade 3 Estacion, because Persona riding is very broken. This deck doesn't necessarily need the 10k power. Obviously it's really nice, but obviously the plant token can make up for you not having seen Persona rides, but the drawing is obviously very much appreciated. The first of the blast units that we play is 1 copy of the grade 3 Winter Blast unit, who when he's placed on rearguard by card's ability, if you have 5 more plant gauges, he gets the effect he can't choose my opponent's card effects at the end of their next turn, and he gets a crit as well. So it's extra pressure, and it's a rearguard on board that your opponent cannot interact with other than by like non-targeting effects. And then a rearguard in hand at the beginning of your guard step. For a battle with your Vanguard, with your unit of Estacion as attacks, you can send this to the drop from rearguard or hand to give it 10k power for that turn, for that battle, sorry. So it means that if they're swinging it like 13 or like 18 to your Estacion, you can just discard that and it gets plus 10k, so they no longer is able to hit, similar to the Persona tickets. And then the final grade 3 we play is a regular piece of choice, which is Radiance Caliburn. I am playing this one because this deck can be quite resource intensive and there are no ways in this deck to countercharge. So having this as a way of like alleviating that is quite good, because this deck is also quite soul intensive, so having this to go to soul and countercharge is very good. And the draw 2, like if you need that instead, also isn't terrible. I've seen lists playing Twincast, which the starter deck does come with, so Twincast is perfectly fine. I've tested it and I did like it, so you can play that instead. Or I've seen this playing Fire Regardless as extra compression and finding your pieces, so there are options. And then onto the grade 2s, the only one of the Blast Dragons that we play at more than one copy is the Autumn one. So this one says, in the drop, when you put a Plant Gauge under your Blast token deduring your main phase, if you have a Vanguard Estacion in its name, cast one and call this card to Rearguard. And then when it's placed on Rearguard, if you have Vanguard Estacion in its name, you can call a Plant token. And importantly, that part is not limited to being during the main phase, so if you call this Estacion's effect when attacking, you can call another Plant token to the front row, and then you have 5 attacks. So, very strong card. You definitely play 4 of this, because it is also one of your best discard targets for your ride deck. And then, the next card that we play is 3 copies of the Sea Rumble Brave Shooter. This is one of the nation's like cyclists. It's the Energy Cycler. So when he's discarded from your hand during your ride phase or call to guard circle, you can Energy Blast 3 or Counter Blast 1 and draw a card. So cycling and filtering for your deck. And also when he's placed on Rearguard from your hand, if you Persona Road that turn, you can Counter Blast 1 or Energy Blast 3 and choose a grade 2 on lower normal unit from your drop that isn't a Sentinel, so it can't be a Perfect Guard, and add it back to your hand. Or you can choose a normal order and add it back to your hand instead, so it gets you back your Vital Blaze Blast, so you can keep using this effect, keep ramping up your Blast token gauges. And the next grade 2 we play is one that I haven't seen a lot of lists playing. I've seen like 1 or 2 here or there, but I think this card is absolutely insane for this deck. It is 3 copies of the manga promo, Deeplands Meadif. Now, first of all, Bush needs to stop putting cards as manga promos. I think it is stupid. It's a hard way of getting cards that are very good for decks. Like, every Dark Seas deck can play Filia, so I think that being a manga promo is really, really stupid. But this card's really, really good. And I bought the manga, so I'm playing it. So this is just Stoic KST fault. When it's placed other than by a unit's ability, if you play normal order that turn, Soul Blast 1, check top 5 and call something, or add a normal order to your hand. And then the second effect is really, really strong. It's when attacking, if you have placed a Rearguard from drop this turn, you can Energy Blast 2 and choose one of your opponent's Rearguards in the front. Choose one of your opponent's Rearguards, it doesn't care where it is by the way. I'll say it in the front row, but it doesn't need to be in the front row, it can be anywhere on the board. And it cannot intercept, and it cannot stand during the next stand phase. So it's effectively stuck sideways unless you have other effects to restand it, such as like the Alchemist in Blindmire, or like Hotlaru's effect can restand its Rearguards, they can stand by that. And then if your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 greater, she gets 5k when she attacks as well. So very strong card, helps you build a board, very clear why you should be playing it. We then play 1 copy of the Summer Dragon. So we play 1 copy of like all the other dragons that aren't the Autumn one, because it leaves space for other cards to help you build a board. This one says, when he's placed on Rearguard by a card's ability, if you have 3 or more Plant Gauges, choose one of your opponent's Rearguard, and once again, you cannot intercept and cannot stand during the next stand phase. So another stunning between this and this, that's their front row not being able to intercept, which means that like against Vagila, if they don't use Variance Ray, on their like previous turn, you can stun both their Reservoirs, and that's 30k shield they've lost in intercept value. And then it says on Rearguard continuously and Guardian Circle, if you have Vanguard Estacion in its name and a Blast token, he gets 5k power and 5k shield. So 10k shield helps making awkward numbers easier to guard. And the final grade 2 normal unit we play is the Ace unit. This card is like so good for the deck and what it wants to do. She says when she's placed, other than during the battle phase, you can Energy Blast 3, and she gets 5k, you can Energy Blast 3, check top 7 and bin something, and then revive anything from your drop. And then when she attacks, she gets 5k if one's Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater, and then if you have 10 or more cards in drop, she gets an additional 5k. So if you say go second on your first grade 3 turn, you call this and swing with it, it'll be a minimum 25k booster, and then even more thanks to the Blast token. So very good card, definitely should be playing it. And then the last thing for grade 2s is orders. We play 4 copies of the card I've mentioned about 4 times during this video so far, which is Vital Blaze Blast. This card is very, very good. It's the deck's like main order card. It says you play it with Soul Blast 1 if you have Vanguard Estacion in its name. You can put this face up as a Blast token's Plant Gauge, so it's just a free gauge. And you can check the top 5 and choose a 1 unit card from among them and call it to Rearguard. And if you don't call anything, you have to call a Plant token instead. So this is optional. If you check like top 5 and it's like PG trigger, you can just not call any of them, put them back in the deck, and then just call Plant Token instead, and then feed that under your Blast Gauge. And then it has a second effect, which is that when this card is a Plant Gauge and is discarded during your turn, you get to choose a Blast unit and give it plus 5k power to end of that turn. So that can be to your Estacion, it can be to the Blast unit you've just called, or if you have another one on board that hasn't attacked yet, you can give it to that as well. But that's it for the grade 2s. When I'll get onto the grade 1s, where we play 4 copies of the best card in this deck. I'm not going to hold you, this is the best grade 1 in Estacion. It is 4 copies of the Burrow Mushrooms. This card is absolutely insane. People should know what this card does by now. You put it to Sold from Rearguard and you make 2 plant tokens. And then if you get Granfear, does some other thing, but don't read that part because you're not called Granfear. But it creates you 3 tokens, so this gets you like 2/3 of your way to your feeding your Blast Gauge for the turn. And you can soul blast it back out and revive it through other effects to keep looping the mushroom. We then play 4 copies of Performing Pedal Diantha. Now, some lists you'll have seen are playing Alvina, and Alvina is really good, but I honestly think this might be better. It is like the budget version, but I genuinely think this might be better than Alvina, because for when it plays from hand, same as Alvina, the both plays from hand, you can count last one and choose any grade 3 or less card from your drop and call it to Rearguard. So the reason its revive effect is better than Alvina's is that it revives anything, because Alvina can only revive grade 1s. Yes, it can recur order cards, but we also have Sea Rumble to do that for us, so it's not too bad. But also, continuously on Rearguard, if you have 2 or more grade 1 or less Rearguards, she gets plus 5k, so she's a 15k boost, a 13k booster, which is very good. And the condition having 2 or more grade 1 or less Rearguards is so easy. You have this, and you have your Blast token, you're there. She's a 13k booster. Also doesn't care what grade you are, by the way, so if you're a grade 2 and you call this, yeah, that is a 23k column swing at your opponent. And the last grade 1 that we play 4 of is of course just 4 perfect guards. Very straightforward. Shout out to Larry for getting me the hollow ones. And the last grade 1 we play is 1 copy of the Spring Dragon. This says when placed, it just says acts once per turn, you can energy blast free and call a plant token. So more board building, very much if you what the deck wants to do. And then when it boosts, if you have 6 more plant gauges, it gets 2k, so it's a 10k booster, which isn't terrible, but it's not like as good of a number as the Diantha would make you. And then onto the triggers, I am playing 8 crits because crits win you games. I've got 4 of the foil peppery peppers, which you can get in the starter deck. So as you can tell, I very clearly have money. Then we play 4 heals, because heals stop you from losing games. Play 3 draws. I'm playing draws over fronts because this deck, the deck compresses so much that the things you draw off of this tends to have are either valuable pieces you need, or if you draw a trigger, that's still extra shield value. But also, I like draws because they make guarding awkward numbers so much easier. And then I'm playing Bless Favor as DOT just because this deck doesn't really need any of the over triggers. I think the one you get in the starter deck, Bless Favor, is perfectly fine. And then obviously you cannot forget, make sure you have plenty of tokens. I bought 4 of the starter deck, so I have 20 tokens, and I'll show you, which I think is really cool. I got my locals to sign a bunch of them, so shout outs to the guys at my locals for signing my tokens and making it look really funny when I feed them to the big bird. Well, that's it for my Estacion deck profile, so thank you for watching. And quickly, because otherwise I will forget, I'll show you ideal mulligan targets, I think, because I try and do it for all my deck profiles, but I always forget. So I think the main thing you mulligan for is a copy of this. You need a copy of the mushroom, because if you find the mushroom, your ideal turn to play is set up. So you mulligan for that, and then after that I'd say, very simple, Deeplands, Meadif, and the Autumn Dragon. If your opening hand is these 3, your turn 2 is going to be insane, because you can discard this for your ride deck, and then ride the grade 2, search for a copy of the Vital Blaze Blast, and then you can call the mushroom, put it to soul, make 2 plant tokens, and then you can call this, soul blast 1, call something from top 5, and then you can eat those 3 to put underneath as a gauge, and you get to call this back out and make another column. Then you can use media to make another column. Then you've made 3 full columns for next to nothing. And after that, I think the only other thing really to mulligan for is persona rides. But you can press your deck so much, you will just find your persona rides, whether it's through Estacion's effect or through just like raw drawing into it. You do play draw triggers, so drawing into it isn't that unlikely. But that is it for my Estacion deck profile, so thank you for watching and hope you'll have a nice day.